April 6th ballot. And I'd like you to peruse that, tell me what you think. This explanation can be published anytime 60 days before the election, but no more than 10 days from the election. So today is, I believe, the 49th or 50th day. We approve this, we can put it into publication immediately, or we can sit on it for a week or two, or we could wait until the 1st of April or the last part of March. But the verbiage that you've got by state statute has to be in plain and neutral language. And if you'll take a look at that and let me know what you think. I will say Mr. Schuster drafted about the first 3/4 of it. I drafted the last quarter of it, which is the very bottom part of the explanation. So, any comments? Joe, I know you mentioned the other day about something about it.
Yeah, I was just waiting my turn here. My feeling is that the condition of the economy and people working right now, that we may want to leave the last sentence and of public buildings, including roofs, windows, doors, siding, and HVAC units off for now and figure that one out in the future, because I just think that people might zero in on that yes, I need new windows and a roof now, but I can't afford it, and we just do the things we actually have to do. So that would be my feeling there. I just think that might be a sore spot with several residents that
just strike it there at the end of IT services.
Right.
Joe, I had a similar thought when it came to mentioning vehicles, police vehicles. But after thinking about it, I would rather have all of the potential items listed in the plain language, so that, and maybe there's another brief word added that says, something like in the future, or I wouldn't want to, my own personal preferences, I wouldn't want to leave out anything, but perhaps there's a way of adding another phrase that says, in time, or as time tells, or something, just to make it clear.
I like that, or make it when such items become critical, because the roof has been critical for 5 years now. I mean, Barb Detmer advised us 5-6 years ago that the roof is just one thunderstorm away from having water pouring into the village hall or having shingles torn off. So we just keep on just hoping that the roof is not going to fail. So we do. So I don't know what that wording is, but
it may be future critical improvements, or something like that.
Critical replacements. Go ahead, Steve.
No, I agree. I think maybe something like that. Something about critical replacements as needed, or something like that. Something of that nature.
And how about a sentence? Why are we asking for the tax referendum now? Because of increased costs, the insurance costs, the cost of salt has skyrocketed, the expenses of the village, and that a simple sentence included. Yeah,
I agree. And Steve, I don't know if we can put this in there or not, but the reason we're here is that it's not like we can cut anymore. We've cut everything we can for the last several decades. I mean, we've run at the bare minimum for so long. So
okay.
we don't.
Gentlemen, you got to be careful here. The wording has to be neutral. Critical is not a neutral word. Critical indicates, we got an issue. We got a problem that's immediate. We can't use, the statute says plain language and neutral. So that's the catch in trying to balance this thing out. We can't say vote yes. We can't say vote no. We can't strike any hot buttons.
Right, but like windows, I mean, multiple windows in the building don't open. But
Right.
do we need to replace them? Maybe not. Siding is starting to look a little iffy. Do we need to replace it? Maybe not. The roof,
Well, I don't think,
you know what I'm saying?
I don't think
So,
we're saying, I'm sorry, Joe, I'm talking over you.
no, go ahead, because
I don't think we're saying that the explanation text means we're going to do any of the things in the explanation text. It just states that these are the common issues that face any village and any municipality. To say that in totality, well, I'll use the word totality. In totality, these are all the areas that capital or village assets, village funds are used to address these issues when they come up.
right,
So if, it all started by Joe, you mentioning maybe deleting something, and then I said, I thought about that, but I'd rather have everything in there.
yeah,
So if the plain text is the critical thing, sorry, didn't want to use the word critical. The plain text is the actual thing we have to stand by, then I would say we leave it like this. And if we get questions, it's that, these things potentially could be looked at in the future. That's all I had.
And to clarify, before we publish this, you mean publish in the newsletter? Is that how we're going to do it? or-
This has to, the state statutes required us to publish this in a newspaper of local distribution. So we'll have to publish this in the Daily Herald
Okay,
sometime, before 10 days before the election. So that's where it gets published.
In addition to that, do we put it in other places, like the
We can
newsletter
put this
later
in
on,
other
or?
places. We can do a newsletter flyer. We could do a mailing. As long as.
Insert it in the new water bill.
Yeah, all we can do is provide the facts. We cannot encourage a person to vote yes or no. We just can.
Right.
provide the facts.
The reason I mentioned the news, I don't get the Herald, but maybe we utilize the new water bill envelope, at some point, throw in a
You
piece
have
of
to be
paper.
careful there, because now we're using village funds to promote an election.
Oh,
So we got to be very careful where we go and how we do it. It's a possibility we could put a flyer in there about information, but we got to be careful, how we word this, how we spend the money, and where we go with it.
in talking about this explanation page, I don't know if they're both related, but on the actual ballot, there are 4 points that I'm sorry, 3 points that are listed below that. Are those points included in the ballot itself then?
Which points are you?
The bottom of the ballot, the bottom of the official ballot, the number says 4, 5, and 6, and it explains how much money would be coming in, how much per $100,000
Right,
property.
those
and
go
then-
on the ballot. Yeah, that's all being.
Okay.
That's
okay.
all published. The big
Okay.
part of the question is that small paragraph at the end. That's the explanation.
Right.
In the past, we've not been allowed to put an explanation. I went through this for a couple of days, and I was coming up with, all sorts of numbers and fund balances, and it was just too confusing. And the bottom line is the board decided to go with the tax referendum because of the loss of funds in our capital improvement fund.
Right.
As of this year, we have no money in capital improvement to move forward. And that's where I was focused on, as you said, Anthony, I wanted everything we'd spend nickels and dimes on in capital improvement. Squad cars, trucks, plows, Yeah, windows, doors, roofs. I was just thinking
Yeah,
anything and everything, that's gonna hit us on the capital improvement fund.
I'm leaning to let it go as it is. And then if obviously residents can contact us to ask us what it means, I think we're allowed to at least explain what it means.
Sure.
And at least it kind of covers everything. And it's our, I was in favor of it. I know most of us were, but the explanation letter. And I think the important thing is that it just helps to give facts to the referendum question. And those residents who feel it's necessary for them to read more or learn more, they're always encouraged to attend meetings. They're always encouraged to make public comments. And now they have an opportunity to read, where we as a board feel monies need to be where they have to come to do capital improvements in the future.
Yeah, I would be okay with leaving it as is if we need to keep it that generic. So I'm okay with that.
Joe, somebody calls you about doors or windows, have them call me.
Oh, okay.
Okay? All right, so we will go with that.
Now,
Anyone-
you mentioned timing about when to send it out.
Right,
I would rather it be sent out more closer to the time, because you send it out too early, people aren't gonna remember.
What's closer?
Yeah, that's the thing.
Steve mentioned, what's the dates again?
I believe the 25th of March is the last possible date that we can publish.
I would go before that then.
1st of March?
I would say March the 1st.
Because first off, this is expensive. Secondly, who reads the newspapers anymore?
That's
Exactly.
how much is it, Steve?
It's probably gonna run us somewhere around $300 to $400 minimum to publish this. So, part of it's gonna be the ballot. We've got to publish that. The explanation is the new part. In the past, we've never been able to publish the explanations.
Early March sounds good.
Yeah, I would agree.
Okey doke. We will move forward on that then. Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
Just had another last question on the action needed. It said here, certify this ballot question to King County Clerk no later than January 28th, 2021.
This was a copy of that was provided to you back in December and early January, Anthony.
Okay, so we're,
That's all just, we just been
For
forwarding
us.
that through. That's already been taken care of. What we
Thank you.
have not done is taken it to the newspapers for publication.
thank you.
Okay, next item is clerk's report.
Nothing tonight.
Planning and Zoning Commission, no report. Attorney, no report. The engineer, we've got a permit. The engineers provided us from ComEd. Yes. And he has recommended approval of it, along with his letter that states a few caveats that they would like the contractor to follow. Any questions concerning ComEd's permit?
No.
I know sometimes he comments on this. It looks like some of it may be in the township as opposed to Sleepy Hollow?
It is on the right of way of Bonkowski, on the south side of Bonkowski. So it's gonna be township, county,
Right, so-
unincorporated to the south of us.
So sometimes I've noticed that in the past, he's put notes that some of this work may take place in other jurisdictions and that you need to get approval from them. I didn't see that in this review or his information. I've just seen him do it in the past, saying that, you know, the applicant
Okay,
should
now
run
his note says that in conversations with ComEd, the application is only for utility poles within the Village of Sleepy Hollow jurisdiction. So obviously he's already talked to him about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a motion to approve work order 163000288.
So move Moreno.
Second, Diatley.
Moved by Moreno, seconded by Diatley to approve ComEd's permit application work order number 163000288. Any further comments, questions, or discussion? There being none, roll call, please.
Mr. Harney,
Aye.
Mr. Nimitz,
Aye.
Mr. Moreno,
Aye.
Mr. Dattley.
Aye.
4 affirmative votes, no negative votes, the motion so passes. Okay, just another catch up with the engineer. Jeff and I had a meeting this morning along with Brian Leahy, who is now our finance guy, in regards to the Rebuild Illinois program. If you recall, in 2019, Governor Pritzker initiated the Rebuild Illinois program to the tune of some huge numbers. And the bottom line of it is that the Village of Sleepy Hollow will receive $217,000 over the course of 3 years, distributed to us through the MFT funds for use on roads within the Village of Sleepy Hollow. The state of Illinois will provide 2 checks annually for 3 years. The two checks will be for Sleepy Hollow, $36,000 and change each, which will give us roughly $72,000 a year for 3 years. That's where we'll come up with a total of $217,000. In reviewing this program with Jeff and Brian, this money is going to be sent to us, as I said, in 2 payments. We've already gotten 2 of them. In May of this past year and July of this past year, we got 2 $36,000 checks. The state statutes would allow us to spend those individually if we so desire. But the recommendation from our engineers is that we book these 3 years of checks and then have one project for $217,000. And that way we will get the most bang out of our buck for this. If we start trying to do, 6 $36,000 projects, we're going to end up spending more money on paperwork and engineering than if we just hold the money and then when we get the last payment in 2023, then just go out and do Locust Road from one end to the other, as opposed to trying to, fill the potholes with $36,000 here and $36,000 there for the next 3 years. So that, I just want to let you know, that's where we're going to be going. This is an additional funds above and beyond our MFT funds. So we will still be able to continue with our MFT funds for next year on the Sleepy Hollow Road project, then revert back into our typical repaving and patching programs with those MFT funds moving forward. And then in 2023, when we get the last of the Rebuild Illinois funds, then we can take a look at the long expanse of Locust and having that repaved and set up. So that's on the books moving forward. And that's it for the engineers at the moment. Finance, we've got the accounts payables for the 2016-21. We have a motion to so approve.
So moved, Diatley.
Harney seconds.
Diatley moved with a second from Harney to approve the warrants February 16, 2021, in the amount of $149,961.86, 86 cents. What is that? 86. Any comments, questions, additions, deletions?
I have a question. There's a ComEd entry, two of them actually. One of them says Village Street Light, $97.72. About a month ago, I contacted the village, the street light directly in front of my house, which is a ComEd pole. It's the wooden pole. The light bulb was out. Would that be the light bulb that they replaced? Would we know?
No, that's included in the service.
For the lights.
Yeah. So Anthony, we're billed. We have two lights in the village. The ones that are on concrete poles, because this used to be my department. The concrete poles are village owned and village maintained, and we pay electricity bill on those on a per light basis based on the wattage of the bulbs. The other
Okay.
ones, the ones that are on wood poles like you have, we just basically pay ComEd a flat fee for each one of those lights, and they maintain them and provide electricity to them. So they will replace the light bulbs, replace the fixtures. They do that all at their own cost. So it's just a flat rate. So it's basically they lump them all in together.
So these two ComEd entries then are one's 384 and then the 97 are just
It's going to be the electric for,
things that's for those all the lights.
right.
All right, thank you.
Okay. No further comments or questions. Roll call, please.
Mr. Harney,
Aye.
Mr. Nimitz,
Aye.
Mr. Moreno,
Aye.
Mr. Dattley,
Aye.
4 affirmative votes, no negative votes. The motion so passes. Okay. Comments from the public? We have none this evening. Trustee reports, roads and parks. Mr. Harney.
One quick thing, I did have a phone conversation with Dave Peterson, the head of Dundee Township Park District, and this is pertaining to the future of Sabatino Park. We both mutually agreed that we would hold off on their requested meeting till after the results of the referendum come in. That'll more clearly define what options we have as a village regarding Sabatino Park. So that's just an update of where we stand with that. That's all I had to report.
Okay, thank you, Ed. Finance, Don is not with us this evening. Water and sewer, Joe?
Oh, I got a few things here to keep everybody updated. First of all, between the last meeting and this meeting, we had a water main break at 107 Thoroughbred. The good news is that water main there is only about 3 feet, but it was a pretty catastrophic failure. It just basically rotted out. So it's one of the mains we've had problems with. Currently, we have 2 broken valves in the older system. One is in the off position. The other one's in a half off position. Kyle's going to wait till spring to replace that just because it's easier to work. We did have 1 fire hydrant that came back as low pressure. Kyle will try and replace it next spring. If that doesn't fix the problem, we may have to loop that main. That may be the only way to get appropriate pressure to that fire hydrant. The interesting thing is the map shows it loop, but water services could not find any line. They couldn't find any valves or locate anything out there. Jeff Steele had said that it may be an error because he just basically had a line drawn on an old map, and that's how it ended up on our official map. So we'll find out more in the spring when Kyle replaces the hydrant there. Currently, Jeff Steele, Kyle, and Brian are working on a plan and cost to replace the oldest water mains. As you know, they're old, and some of them were used when they put in. They're the ones that fail the most. I mean, we could have Brian run us the numbers, but it's each water main break with water service come in is about $10,000, and we've had multiple ones in the course of a year on select water mains. Most of the time they break, they just rot away. So Jeff Steele will come up with some kind of ballpark numbers. Brian will figure out what we can do as far as financing it. It's borrowing. There's some grants out there that might be available to replace that. So we'll just at least move forward and just not kick the can down the street. the first water bills went out from the new service. I've talked to Wendy today. There's been no problems. It worked out real well for her. So that's a good news, and it should be a cost saving for us in the long run. Just I thought I'd give you this an FYI. Based on the information, Elgin voted to have a 4% water increase over the next 4% increase in their water rates over the next 4 years. So based on that, their water rate next year will be $9.02 a gallon, $9.38 in 2023, and then $9.76 per thousand in 2024. Some other things that come up. So we decided to audit our water and sewer accounts. We found 4 accounts that were not being billed for hydrant service as per the village code. So Mark prepared a letter and Wendy will send it out to the residents, and we'll have something to vote on for the next meeting on that. And we had that online sewer and water payment that John Florence put on the back of the water bills. The initial response was pretty positive. John said he could hopefully get us numbers by the next meeting. And then we'll just move forward with the next budget cycle and just see if we can actually save some money by using some online billing through the same service that provides our mailed out bills. So, but I was surprised the number of residents that said that they would use it and actively want to. Matter of fact, when I talked to Sharon the other day, she said several residents have asked, especially new residents, like, how do I pay my water bill? Can I pay it online? Can I see my account online? She gets that pretty frequently. And I think the initial number we saw was if 70 people did it, that would be the break even point. So we might be able to do that and save some money in the water department.
Good.
That's all I have unless there's questions.
Questions for Mr. Nimick? Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it.
Mhm.
Okay, police and public safety, Mr. Diatley.
Thank you. Chief has put several things in your packet that you can look at. Couple things I do want to mention is, I don't know if any of you logged into the Randall Over 90 Zoom meeting that was held the other week. I urge you to go on their website. There's a lot of information out there on different options they're looking at. A lot of things to dive into and digest. It's going to be a while, but it's always good to prepare yourself with that information. Couple of things, shout out to the chief for saving us some money on cell phones. Appreciate that. That's a good one. Please, Chief, if I could just ask you to speak to the frontline public safety thing for just a brief moment.
Sure. Frontline is a program we use that tracks many different things. It allows the residents to go in and put vacation watches in, overnight parking so they don't get cited, and also has a spot for that we can check pets that are lost or found. So if you lose your cat, someone might be able to look on there and find out, hey, so-and-so has Fluffy, I can go pick him up. One of the things, after a great meeting with Jeff Fleck and Trustee Perino, we wanted to make as many people aware that Frontline was out there and that they could utilize it. We're going to be putting that out on the police department's Facebook account, as well as sending it out on Ring to the people who have Ring in town. And John Florence was going to be putting that out on the village website, and then we'll be getting its own little separate tab. So if anyone wants to log in, they can go in and on their own without having to call, or if it's after hours, they don't have to bother Quadcom dispatch to try and get an overnight parker, and they can log in, put their overnight parking information in, and they'll be good to go.
Thank you, Chief.
You're
That's
welcome.
all for me, President Pickett.
Thank you, Steve. Okay, public buildings and environment. I guess Tom isn't with us this evening. No report. Building and zoning, Anthony.
Thank you. 2 things. I did meet with Jeff Fleck and the chief last week, and where the frontline thing came up was once the snow goes away and spring and summer come again, people will be doing driveways and things and where people are parking, and so by educating the residents to use Frontline, it will make life a lot easier for the police department, because those residents who need to park on the street because of a driveway or something will have a process. Instead of having to come down to the village hall, they'll have a process that they can notify the police of these different things, along with the other things that the chief mentioned. So I know we had talked about Frontline a couple years ago, but this might be a way now for, it to get out a little more activity with residents if they have questions. Second thing was, during that meeting, Jeff Fleck and I, and the chief, we were looking at the basically the text in the code book in chapter 3, basically the residential district, and just coming up with some text changes to make it a little more understanding for residents and easier for code enforcement to enforce particular things. The question I had, I don't know if I should bring it up now, bring it up under new business. President Pickett, I mentioned, you and I had a brief email conversation regarding what steps we should take if we wanted to make text changes. Do you want to discuss that now, or should we bring it under new business?
The process is the process, Anthony. What's the question?
So from what I understand, somebody has to petition building and zoning to want to do something that would change the current text.
Correct.
And then once that is put in place, if there's collective, 4 or 5 points that we want to clarify, can they all be grouped together, or do they all individually need to be petitioned?
No, they can be grouped together. You can combine the whole package and bring it in as one.
Okay, so
Okay.
having said that, then a resident would have to do that. Would I be able to do it as a trustee / resident? Or no?
The board can make petitions. Residents can make petitions. Yeah, there's numerous ways that petitions can be presented. What I think, Anthony, is what you and I need to do is have a conversation later.
Okay,
Because this doesn't need to, the board doesn't need to listen to this for the next 10 or 20 minutes. But
I understand.
basically, yes, petitions can be presented by numerous individuals in numerous different ways. And you can have more than one item on there. So I will clarify that with you on the side in the next day or two, okay?
that's fine. I'll reach out to you and see if we have a short time to get together over the phone or
Okay,
at the office. Very good. That's all I had. Thank you.
sure thing. Thank you, Anthony. Old business, any old business to come before the board?
Quick question. A resident saw me on the road the other day and asked, they call it the pet center. Is that a done deal? A done no deal? Or is that still a chance for a revenue stream down the road? Or we don't?
We don't know, Ed.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's the answer I gave.
It's still a toss-up between the old auto dealer and some of his business associates as to who really owns the building. We understand that there's a realtor that has it listed. But yeah, we've
Okay.
not heard from All Pets Wellness since last spring.
Yep.
Nor have we heard from Max since last year sometime.
Yep.
As soon as we do, I'll let you know. But on that line, there has been conversations with Randy's Market. Some people are interested in purchasing Randy's Market, and if they do that, they will most likely take it out of the Village of Sleepy Hollow, according to our intergovernmental agreement with Elgin. So, yeah, but of course, that conversation's been going on for a number of years too. So I don't know, if any trigger's been pulled on that yet or not. But I do know recently we've had some inquiries about it. So that's where we stand with commercial properties within the village.
Okay, thank you.
Sure thing. Any other old business? One item I need to, or forgot to mention under the finance is that Brian did file and have published the treasurer's report for the Village of Sleepy Hollow for the fiscal year 2020. That was published Saturday, December 13th or February 13th in the Daily Herald. So if you want to take a look at that, you can go there and see it. If there's no other old business, new business. We've got an item in new business. A 922 Willow sewer check valve failure comment bill.
We did not get the bill from the resident, but I at least fill everybody in as quick as I can. Kyle went out to 922 Willow. There was an issue with the check valve in the sewer tank. First of all, let me say that the sewer tanks, the older style, are one piece. So none of the check valve or any of the parts are replaced. We have to replace the whole tank, which will be important here in a second. So the check valve broke. It's a pressurized system. So what was happening is, since the check valve was broken, the tank would pump out the fluid that was in there, and it would get down to the appropriate level and shut off. And then the check valve wasn't working, so the pressure in the sewer system would fill the tank back up, and it would just keep on cycling that. There's no way for the homeowner to know that. There's no way for Kyle to know that. The only way that it was brought to anybody's attention is I got a $500 electric bill because it's a fairly heavily duty motor at 220 that's pretty much running constantly. So Kyle went out there, determined that was a problem. He believed in a temporary fix with water services. But when he went out there to look at the sewer tank, as you can see from the building permit application, it is under their deck. So after some emails with Kyle and Mark Schuster and some phone calls, Mark had said, yeah, we're liable for the electricity bill because it's our pump that failed, because we own all that equipment, because all the reason that we own all those tanks and sewer pumps otherwise is that the systems are all interconnected. So that was when the EPA, I believe, gave us that grant for that. It all ties in together. Mark had said that even though we gave him a building permit and it's been there for 30 years, so it's pretty much, we have the right to access that. So the resident has been told that they will have to remove their deck to give us access, or we will remove it and they will have to repair it. So that's where we stand on that. I've not heard back from Kyle what the decision is, but I believe since he made that temporary repair, he's going to wait till spring to get in there. So we will have to do with the heavy equipment going in there, because we have to get a mini excavator in there and some other stuff that they will have to repair the lawn and any shrubs or otherwise that are taken out to get back there. So we're expecting a bill to reimburse the owners for. We were told to give them the bill in question and 2 or 3 months bills from last year at the same time. So that's where we stand on that. So Tony, if you could move that to old business for the next meeting. And any questions on that?
If would the electrical issue still be continuing if we don't repair it sooner than later?
I believe that water services went out there and they put either a temporary check valve in the line, or they did some work on that. That was the plan. And I did not hear back from Kyle, so I assume that they were able to do that. So, but that's a temporary fix until they can replace the tank.
And this particular house has sewer lines as opposed to septic then?
Yeah, that's on the, that's another thing too. There's a 100 and what do we figure out, Steve? We actually got 2 different 160, 150 homes on sewer. We don't really know.
Okay.
Which is the part of the problem there is I had some other issues with Wendy as we were doing this audit. Wendy, we had a lengthy conversation. I'll summarize this way. Wendy can run the same report to say, just give me the homes on sewer, and run it twice on MSI and get 2 different results. It's just a very old, complicated, poor system. So, because we had actually a house showing up on Deer Lane on the sewer system, and it's not. And Wendy said it's like it shouldn't be. It's not coded that way, and she ran it again, and it came out. So,
Okay, thank you.
so that's it.
Okay, thank you, Joe.
You're welcome.
Any other new business to come before the board?
No.
I would like to make a motion to adjourn, sir.
Second.
Second.
Moved by Nemec, seconded by Diatley to adjourn. Roll call, please.
Mr. Dattley,
Aye.
Mr. Moreno,
Aye.
Mr. Nimitz,
Aye.
Mr. Harney.
Aye.
4 affirmative votes, no negative votes. We are adjourned. We will see you March 1st.
Thank
Night,
you, John.
everybody.
Good night, gentlemen.
Thanks
Have a
for
good night.